Hello, everybody. Welcome to another thrilling episode of Night Chat with the Cranky Old Bastard, JP Hrisoulas. Um, it's been an interesting week here in the Waddle. Things have been going rather strangely, but that's the way life is. You never know what you get until you get it, and you get happy with it and deal with it. So, nobody's shown up yet. We've been online for 1 whole minute. Let's see if anybody is brave enough to pop in and say hello. Don't know what else to say for it right now. Had a long week. Finally getting stuff shipped that I was supposed to ship out 2 weeks ago. But with the surgery that went on and follow-ups and other things and some more medical happenings, I sort of got swamped. But first batch went out, and the next batch will be going out tomorrow, hopefully. And I should be caught up with everything I had to ship. So, anyway, anybody wants to pop in and say hello? Let's see what to say. Work on book 4. I spent a couple hours this afternoon working on it. I was working on pewter alloys and copper alloys, mostly the pewter, with the idea of advancing it to pouring pewter bolsters and butt caps on stag grips and knives and stuff like that. Hello, Conch, how are you? Thank you for showing up. Like I was saying, I was working on the pewter area of the foundry work on book 4. I still have to do pouring open back molds for bar stock, and then pouring lost wax for various and sundry types of fittings. As far as I know, this will be the only book on knife minute that covers that. I don't know, but, I wrote a lot of stuff over the years, and got to keep adding to the skill set. So that's where it is. Formulating copper alloys like yellow brass, red brass, jeweler's brass, white bronze, nickel silver, gunmetal, Britannia metal. I wish I could get a little hands on the composition for that Wilton arm and tail. That was some interesting material. I got a whole bunch of arm and tail. I guess I could go have it spectrographed. Don't tell me what's in it. But me being a cheap and a frugal man, I don't want to spend that kind of money to get it gas chromatographed. But maybe eventually I will. Curiosity just get the better of me, and I'll just go ahead and do it. Unless I can get a hold of somebody with one of those ray guns and just put it up there and just tells you what's in it. It's only like $40,000. There's got to be a jeweler around here someplace that has one. I'll call around me about that. Maybe that's what I'll do. But other than that, that's all new and exciting so far. See if anybody else shows up. Even online for 4 minutes. Oh, what a day! The wilds of the Florida jungle. Sue's coming along quite well. She has another follow-up tomorrow. We'll see what happens at that. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I got to go to the studio to do, and I want to come in here and finish up that section on pewter, and then get into the the open back mold sand casting for bar stock. Plate, bars, round bar, square, flat bar, rectangular, whatever you want to call it. Where you basically just make a mold and just pour it in. It's getting harder and harder to find nickel silver, German silver, I want to call it, because they stopped making this country. So I was told. Why, I don't know. And I really not import stuff unless I absolutely have to. Especially as far as metals go, because you never really know what you're getting when you import some of that stuff from these faraway countries. But there's also a feeling of satisfaction that you get when you alloy your own material and you put that on a knife and you get what you're going for. Um, Casting is probably one of the old working techniques is molten metal. Kicks being bronzes and brasses and other of the other material, copper. Um, when you smelt, yeah, they did have access to native copper, and a lot of the stuff that was made from native copper, but they also melted that and alloyed that with tin and with bronze. Matter of fact, there was one of the first embargoes in history was a tin embargo out of I do believe it was Turkey. It was now Turkey. Back then it was Mesopotamia, Asia Minor, whatever they call it in the Near East. That a lot of the tin was coming out of there, and they basically cut that off, and the whole world went to hell because without tin you can't make bronze. Um, you can make brass with zinc, but you can't make bronze, and there is a big difference between bronze and brass as far as strength goes. Bronze is much more sturdier, gets harder, and it's a beautiful metal. Statuary bronze, classic tin copper bronze. That's a gorgeous, got that nice warm um, reddish yellow color. It's just a beautiful amber, interesting material to work with. One of the oldest ones too, as far as it's one of the first alloys done. Smelting metal, like copper from malachite or other copper ores. That's basically throw it in the fire and once it melt, you take the little bits, put them in a crucible, melt them into bigger pieces, and then go on from there. So we're covering that in the fourth book. After that, I'll probably be going back to the pattern welding section, so we get that done. And I got a little bit more to do on the Japanese stuff, mostly on finishing and sharpening, polishing. Well, the Japanese sword, you polish and sharpen at the same time because it's just one long big bevel. Even though it is it's not flat, it's got a slight curve to it, so it's sort of like a little bit of a convex edge on some. They call it miku, which is called meat. I have to understand it. But I'm just sitting here just yattering around, wait for somebody to show up, say hello. What else? I'd be a lousy stand-up comedian because I couldn't do a routine. I feel like a jerk just sitting here talking to myself. But that's what I'm here for, is to answer questions if anybody has any. Let's see what else is going on. What's going on the website? I'll be putting up that one of the last Japanese swords. I have like 4 or 5 blades out. Maybe not four blades out there. Well, 3 now to finish. They've been put away for years. I made those for book 4, the Japanese section. I was going to keep them for myself, but what the heck? I just got to get more fittings. So I get hold of my art foundry and have those made up for me. And those will be put up on the website. Who knows, in the next 6 months or so, a year. I don't know. I'm not in any rush to finish those up because I'm tired of slicing my fingers out. But I'll be putting up that one. Matter of fact, I got the Suka right here. Just got through tying that off a few moments ago. I should have been done this week, but like I said, we had a little bit of a excitement here with medical stuff going on. Nothing major, just enough to put a wrench in the works, they say. But that'll go up probably tonight, maybe tomorrow. On the website, addresses down below. atar.com, www.atar.com. I got like 3 or 4 pieces on there right now. I gotta get these back orders finished up and start putting more stuff up and popping up the site. I do have a reputation to live down to as far as the quantity of cutlery I usually have available. I usually have a lot more available than just like a handful of pieces. I usually have like 15 or 20 or 30 pieces sometimes. But lately, with my time constraints, dealing with what I got to deal with in my personal life, my time has been pretty much sucked up with that. which means limited shop time, which means I do the back orders, and then whatever I have left over, I do on website stock, plus the stuff I got to do for book 4, which I need a photographer for. So if you know anybody in the Florida area that would like to possibly do the photography for this book, I'd be more than happy to talk to them about whatever it takes to get it done and what I need done and everything else. I still have my friend back in Nevada that said he'll do the line drawings for me, and I'm starting to do that right now. Right now, it's doing the schematic for a hydraulic press, the wiring and valve arrangements and everything else on that. That's going to be interesting. The hardest about doing my press is the hydraulic press is the welding of the frame. You really got to have your act together as far as welding goes, or else it'll just come apart on you. The nice thing about a hydraulic press is there's no noise other than the hum of the motor, and there's no impact noise, nothing, just one big long squeeze, which for some things is okay, but for other things you need the impact in order to actually work the steel. Case being in point is roots. I found anyway, that hydraulic press, you don't get the impact that you need to really get down deep into the material to allow it to work properly. And in doing so, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. At least in my instance, the way I work, I've had that happen. But I put it under a power hammer, and the impact just goes, it fractures the grains and moves everything really well. I might have to do a little more research in that and see if I could publish my findings with other members or other people are doing this. Compare notes and see where we are on that. The Woots whole situation, as I said before, right now Woots is at the point where pattern welding was 40, 50 years ago. Very few people were doing it. It's now just starting to get noticed that people can do it without having a whole bunch of trouble or needing a whole bunch of equipment. All you got to do is find a crucible, the material, and something to get it hot and maintain that heat. And that's some hot. That's like 1480 Celsius, like 2900 some odd degrees Fahrenheit. It's just, you are really cooking it, and you've got to hold it there. And you got to hold it there until it goes full liquidus, and then some in order to let it outgas, so it doesn't end up with bubbles in the melt and in the puck itself. And everything goes right. You end up with something like this. This is a little tiny one. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the crystals in there. You can see a little bit. You see a little bit in there. That's just a nice little piece. It's just a nice little paperweight sort of thing. I know people that sell their soul to be able to make something that big. I was one of them for about 35 years ago. But we persevered, and we're figuring it out. There's a handful of us that are doing this here in the United States and other parts of the world. There's quite a few out in Australia that are doing it. A couple in Eastern Europe, and I think 2 or 3 in the Near East. But I'm not so sure. Balkans, I know at least one person in the Balkans that are doing it. But we're sort of like in contact with each other, and one of these days we'll get together, eat chili, and tell lies to each other about how great we're doing. But when you start talking about these older quote-unquote traditions in bladesmith or anything, you have some folks that want to keep all the information to themselves, and they play gatekeeper, and that's not right. Then you have other folks like me that I'll blab it to anybody. I mean, I find something out, I'll tell somebody, I'll make sure that the information is correct. I'll see if I can get repeatable results, and then I'll tell everybody and their brother. As a matter of fact, many years ago, right after the pattern weld blade came out, in it's like late 1990s, I was talking to a maker who shall remain nameless, and he did some really nice work on this, and I kept asking how he did it. He said, I'm not going to tell you anything. He says, why not? I said, because you tell everybody else. And I go, yeah, right, I would. And I just, if I want to just walked off. I figured it out. But the way I look at it is the more people you have doing something, I've said this before, the more people you have something going on, and you've got like, let's say you have a company that makes widgets, and you're just the only one doing it, and nobody else can figure out how to do it. And so your company just makes widgets. Is there any reason to advance the art of widget making? Not really. Now, if somebody else comes up and sees you make a widget, thinking, hey, I can try this a little bit different, and they come up with results that are different and are in some ways better, then the state of the art of widget making has advanced. And the more people you have doing this, as I said before, new eyes, the more chances that you have of actually improving the art. Like pattern welding. Now, pattern welding wasn't lost. Like I said before, there were people in this country that were doing it. Bo Hickory, John Anstey. There's companies in Europe that were doing it during World War II, still doing it today. It's just that Bill Moran got the press because he was the first one to show up at a knife show with pieces he made, which is okay. I mean, somebody's got to get the credit for it, so why not him? But for years, he had this idea that pattern welding, he put it out there that pattern welding is very difficult. Well, if you don't know how to forge weld, don't know weld, yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's like everything else. Excuse me. If you know how to do it, it's not that hard. But sometimes, even if you do know how to do it, it can be downright difficult. But that's outlier. So he kept it pretty much close to his vest on that. And then they started the ABS. I keep getting questions why I'm not ABS. I don't. That organization I don't go on. I don't like the politics. I don't like their whole no stainless blades. I don't know if that changed or not. When they first started out, no member can make a blade out of stainless steel. If I want to forge a blade out of stainless steel, I'll forge out of blade of steel. Sean McWilliams doing stainless steel forgings back in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, he had a hard time selling those. I was doing stainless pattern weld in the mid 1980s. I couldn't sell a stainless pattern welded knife to save my soul. Terry Laborde, I showed him how to do it, and he had a bar stock company. It was just starting up. He was in, I think he was in Anaheim, California. I was still in California then, and I walked him through it. And he had the same thing. Nobody wanted it because the ABS had this whole thing about stainless being crap. Stainless is no good. Stainless, you can't get a good edge on it. It's not tough. You can't do anything because stainless was bad. So everybody bought into that. And then Devin Thomas came up and said, how do I do it? I explained it to him. And he fondled with it with a fiddler for a while. And he just kept plugging and plugging and plugging. Terry Laborde just gave up, threw up his hands and walked away. I don't know what happened to him. I just got tired of fighting it. Every now and then I'll do what I call a stainless hybrid, where I have part stainless, part carbon steel. But you got to be real careful with that. So you got to make sure that your working characteristics are close enough to where you don't shear weld when you're drawing it down. But I digress. I was saying, so Devin Thomas just kept plugging at, and finally, people opened their eyes and started really investigating it, and they found out that stainless isn't that bad. And in some cases, it's better, especially in a wet or moist environment. You take a piece of high carbon steel in a moist environment, you're going to go rust. Stainless, you won't. There's no such thing as rust-free steel. It's stainless, which means it stains less, it rusts less. It's not rust-free, but rusts less. It will still corrode. I've seen when stainless corrodes, it grows bad. You get those little spiderweb corrosion marks. I've seen a stainless 1911 pole that somebody forgot to clean, and it was heartbreaking. It was just one big heap of corrosion. It was a shame because it was in its prime, very, very nicely made semi-automatic pistol. But stainless does have its points. It does have a place for it. If you Want to get into extreme weather conditions with whether it's wet, humid, moist, in a salt environment, stainless is the way to go. Even with the modern coatings on carbon steels, once you get into that coating and you nick it, or the corrosion, the salts, whatever it is you're fighting against, gets in there and gets in there and just starts spreading around from the hole. It just goes out like that. It just starts eating its way down. Gets in there and just starts spreading around from the hole. It just goes out like that. It just starts eating its way down, and it can just ruin a piece and surprisingly quickly. But that's one of the reasons I'm not ABS member. Another one is I just can't get into the politics. I mean, when Bill Bagwell told me to walk away, I was thinking about it, and he was one of the founding members, and he said, you're not going to like it. As a matter of fact, I'm resigning. And he resigned shortly after that. And he was right. It just got really bad. Talking to people that are ABS members, it's just not for me. I just no. I don't need any of that politics and infighting. And I'm better than you because I got a Master Smith stamp and stuff like that. Everybody starts off somewhere. Nobody's born with this stuff, and I want to get this information out there so we get more people into this art, more people swinging a hammer, more new eyes to come up with stuff. Yeah, I wrote a couple of books, and they've been received, and I just didn't realize until recently how, what's the word here? I guess influential that those books have been over the last few decades. They're considered now the standard textbook of all things, and they're not the be all end all. It's a good foundation. The books, build on it, go off on your own, and keep adding to it. Start doing experiments, goof around. Nothing wrong with playing around in the studio. Nothing wrong with playing in the workshop. Try it. Union Carbide, and I think 3M as well, have so many days a month that their research guys can go off and do their own thing and have fun and see what they come up with. It's like Post-it notes. For a mistake. Minnesota Mining and Mineral Company, they're looking for glue, and they had this glue that wouldn't do anything. It was just there and take it off and fall. And they made these little notepads, and they were giving out to the secretaries and stuff like that. They loved them. They said, "Can we get more of these?" They're going, "We just did that we just did that because we did this." Next thing you know, Post-it notes everywhere. That's Post-it notes. The same thing with that chlorinated oxygenated chlorinated emulsion, where it wasn't doing anything to anybody, anything. It was a liquid. You put something, the matches would burn under it. It's just amazing. I found that in the electronics industry, they put circuits in there. They can see actually where there's because they can watch the sparks jump back and forth. Interesting stuff. I mean, you never know what you're going to come up with right now that might seem totally irrelevant to everything, but a few years later or a decade later, or however long, they're going, "Wow, we had this stuff. We could use it." So you got to keep adding to your skill set as learn new skills, because if you know it, show it. I mean, teach it if you can. Find somebody else. Get together with other people that have the same interest as you, and say, "Hey, I got this way of doing this." And next thing you know, they this way. "Hey, I got this way, but I can do it this way and get this result." And this is how the whole situation just grows. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the more people you're doing something, if you're that insecure that you don't want to share what you know, that's on you. I mean, that's no way to be. I mean, that's just no way to be. Granted, there are things that I do know how to do that I'm not going to show because they're too dangerous. Number one is mercury gilding. That, you don't want to mess with that. I've done it. I won't do it again unless we positively have to. There's no other choice, because it is so hazardous, because you're actually cooking off mercury on an amalgam in order to gold gild a blade. And when it's done right, mercury, there's nothing else like mercury gilding. It's good. That's a good color, and it's just amazing how well it works. But mercury is something you don't want to mess with. Same with lead. But mercury is 100 times worse, because you ever hear the phrase "mad as a hatter"? That's because back, in the 19th, early 20th centuries, hat felt was processed with mercury. and the milliners, the headers, would absorb it through their skin or breathe in the fumes, and it would work in the central nervous system, and they just kind of go crazy. And you get the drops. The same with lead poisoning, you get the hand drops. Your hands just like that. The nervous system is going crazy. Same with your feet. That was until the mid 20th century that they started to really get down on the lead, especially in paint. Lead, gasoline, same thing. It's just not good for you. As it is, with all the bullet casting I do, I worry about it sometimes, but at my age, somebody got to tell me. Although I do want to live to 104, shot by a 19-year-old husband. But I'm working on it. Every day I get close to that 104. But you got to keep safe, and you got to keep some of these things to yourself. On the dangerous stuff, on the other stuff, show somebody up. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from somebody that doesn't know what he's doing. Especially when they ask questions. Hey, have you tried this? And you go, no, maybe we should. And you try it, it works, or you try it, doesn't work, and you learn something. Either it didn't work, you found another way that doesn't work, or you found a way that did work and found a different result. It improves everything all the way around. But anyway, I've been yattering on for the last almost half an hour here, and nobody else is showing up except old 4155. I guess I'm going to just wait a few more minutes, see if anybody else shows up, and then I'm going to call it a night because I still got some stuff I got to do. I got to get ready for that doctor's appointment tomorrow and a few other things around here. I want to finish up that section on pewter and get into the open back molds on bar stock. I don't know how far I'm going to get into that in the book because I can write a whole book on foundry practices for knife makers. As a matter of fact, maybe I will just throw that whole thing in that section and book 4 will be like an Encyclopedia Britannica. But I want this book to be the last one I write, and it's going to have a sum total of most of my knowledge in there. Oh, it's Black Swan. Hello. You caught me. I was just going to sign off till somebody else showed up, and you showed up. So, any questions, please feel free to ask. I've been sitting here yattering to myself for the last half an hour, and I'm getting tired of talking to myself. I need some more water. I'm drying out. No tomato juice tonight. I don't need the salt right now. But anyway, what was I saying about, the book? Yeah. So you got to, I want to keep this as a follow-up, and I wouldn't say sequel to the other 3, but it will be, if you take them in order as they were written, the Complete Bladesmith, the Master Bladesmith, the Pattern Welded Blade, this would be the next one in that series. I'm making a lot of assumptions in this book that you already know what you're doing as far as making a knife. If you do not know how to make a knife, don't buy the fourth book. You're not going to understand half of it. Matter of fact, you're probably going to understand most of it. It's like when people say, I want to learn how to do pattern welding. Says, how many knives you made? Oh, I haven't made any knives yet. It says, well, let me get this straight. You want to show me, want me to show you how to make a $5 knife out of a $500 piece of steel. No, I can't complain because I did the same thing. Somewhere around here, I got my first knife I ever made. I'm going to find that puppy. I saw it a few years. I saw it when we moved from Nevada down to Florida, and that was back in 2017. It's got to be in one of these boxes I locked away somewhere. It's not a very big knife. It's hideous, but it was the first one I did. And if I find it, the next knife chat, I'll bring it up and I'll show it to you. It's pitiful, but the welds are clean, and I did all kinds of. I really tormented that steel because I didn't know any better. And it was made out of old files and I think it was cold rolled steel. Cold rolled steel and old files in my middle school metal shop when I was a much younger man. And my shop teacher, he was kind of like thinking, "What's this kid doing?" He got all excited about it when I had it done. And this is back in the day you could do that in school. I mean, It's changed so much. When 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when I was in school, um, my senior high school, we had a small bore rifle team, which I was on. We also had a skeet team, and we had a small bore pistol team. I was on a rifle team. And the range for the pistol and the rifle underneath the gymnasium on my high school. And it would not be unusual for, hi, Jack. Oh, you got us. You made it. It would not be unusual, especially on my junior and senior year, for we've had several teachers putty out of concrete sculpture. You casting concrete there, Jack? I mean, that Black Swan, you casting concrete? That's some neat stuff. You can really do some neat stuff on that. Casting material. So anyway, back to what I was saying. To see one of our teachers, especially my biology teacher, he said, gentlemen, kids, pheasant season opens Friday. Anybody want to go out after school? Bring in the shotguns. We'll lock them up in the closet, and we'll go out after school. And we'd do that. We'd bring in our gun cases. We just walk on in. Nobody cared. We didn't have the problem back then with school shootings. I mean, every kid I know had a knife. Most of us carried two of them. One for a really fancy one to show. The other one we used to cut everything else. I mean, we had guys, these, 3-bladed Stockmans or the 2-bladed, this, that, and everything. Then everybody had at least a 2-blade that we used to cut everything else. But we had those real fancy, 2 or 3 blade ones. And if you're really cool, you had a Swiss Army knife. Now you go to jail. You draw a picture of a knife, you go to jail. Oh God, it's amazing how things have changed. How things just went the other way, but we didn't have the problem back then. I don't know what changed. I think it's the lack of responsibility on the parents. I mean, the kid's going to learn what the kid's going to learn, and if you don't show them right and wrong, they're not going to know it. Yeah, some kids are inherently able to discern what is right and what is wrong, and some kids aren't. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the kids that aren't. They just haven't been shown. And it's just like some people can run real well, some people can't. Some people are very good with numbers, some people aren't. Some people are better with their hands, some people are better with their brains. People are different. And you've got to treat everybody as an individual. And I don't know what's going on with our society, but it's scary. It terrifies me. I feel fear for my grandchildren. What kind of world they grow up in? I look at what I've seen in my life. I've seen people. I remember when aircraft were propeller driven. I remember when there was no color TVs. I remember telephone party lines. We still got milk delivered. It was just the way things were. The next thing you know, things change. We go from prop-driven aircraft to turboprop to jet to supersonic to from horse-drawn carriages and buggies to automobiles to put a man on the moon. Now I'm talking about going to Mars. All in a span of a few decades. I mean, if you look at when it took them to launch, Alan Shepard, and then have Neil Armstrong, walk on the moon, it wasn't that long. It's amazing what these people can do when you set your mind. That's why I'm saying we got to keep adding to our skill sets and skills for later generations, because you never know what or when you're going to need something like that. It's just amazing that we've gotten so far, and we're still so far to go. But who knows? I have no idea. Oh, anybody got questions or anything? I'm tired of just jacking my jaws here. I guess that's just about it. So, oh boy. It's going to be an interesting day. Interesting day. It's going to be an interesting week. Let's see what else am I working on. Got to do some heat treating. Oh, it's Chubby Hubby. Hello. You made it. I was just getting ready to sign off. I just don't have anything more to say. I'm pretty much dry because my brain has been on pewter mode and, non-leaded pewter. Like I said, I wish I could get a hold of that whatever's in that Armatel, because that's probably it's an aluminium based alloy, so it's going to have a higher melting point than what I would be talking about as far as pouring bolsters and butt caps on knives. You don't want to get it so hot where it actually ruins knives. You don't want to get it so hot where it actually ruins. Uh-oh, I got an error message. Send one stream to primary ingestion. I have no idea what's going on. Things are happening here that I have no clue about. So I'm just going to keep on going. If anybody can hear this, say a comment that I'm still on the line. I'm still broadcasting, because I don't know if I am or not. So anybody? Okay, that's good. All right. I'm still on. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe somebody is trying to break in that shouldn't be. I have people I'm doing. This is all new to me, so be that as it may. I need some more water. I've been having so many problems with this internet again. It's not funny. They're actually coming out Tuesday to look at this. Maybe try to get these problems I have solved, and maybe try to get these problems I have solved. But what we're talking about? Oh yeah, adding to your skill set. So you got to keep adding to this stuff. It's like I would have loved to learn how to engrave, but I can't even hold a pencil anymore. My hands are all buggered up. But there's so many things you can do in this industry. There's so many ways to quote unquote specialize. People just specialize in folding knives. I made a folding knife once. I opened the stayed that way. Couldn't fold it. Locked itself open. Never did that again. Oh yeah, it's my good buddies at Spectrum. It's Spectrum, and they keep saying, "Oh, it's nothing with us. It's got to be your equipment." I got brand new equipment. I got a brand new computer, brand new router, brand new modem. I even tried wiring the computer to the modem, the router. It doesn't make any difference. It just skips or drops calls, especially when I'm uploading. I mean, my uploading speed is like 20. My downloading speed is like 98, maybe 110 if I'm lucky. That's supposed to be at 500 or 600. No, it's like 100, 110. Oh, it's not us. It's not us. It's not us. It's your equipment. Oh, it's not my equipment. But what are you gonna do? They get you by the short and curlies, and you gotta play their. But anyway, anybody have any questions for the old fart here? Let's see. Oh, tonight's office security is brought to you by Charter Arms. We live out in the boonies. Okay? It's very quiet out here, and you gotta be careful with what your own personal safety. Have I done a speed test on your upload? Yes, I have, and it's dismal. My upload speed is like 25 to 30. My download speed is usually 100 Mbps, maybe 110. On a good day, maybe 120, 125. Nowhere near what's supposed to be. And my uploads, it takes me forever to upload a video. I'm surprised as well. Walk away from Lakeside Street. Yep. It sure is. That was a long time ago. California. But oh well. But we gotta be careful with it. It's like I keep something out in the studio too. I got a clickety bang out there. But gotta be careful. You know, especially now that I'm getting older and I'm not so wry in my getting around. And with Sue being stove up, you got to take care of that in the kitchen too. Because our critters, they're not going to be. Matter of fact, they'll probably show the burglars where all the good stuff is, just to get some of that goody things. Yeah, that's likely the issue. You need to tell them the rate, up the rate, and why you need it, and sometimes help. Yeah, I'm gonna try, but they listen. It's just frustrating as hell to pay for a service that you don't get. Especially say, oh, we'll fix it, fix it. All they do is they come in, they snip off the end of the cable, they put a new connector in the cup, and say you're done. Or a couple times before this, they actually ran new cable. Then they put up, and it didn't make any difference. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am fading fast. I've had a hell of a week. I got a hell of a week going tomorrow. I'm going to go call it a night tonight. I want to thank you all for coming and saying hello and allowing me into your home. You all have a pleasant evening. As it is, I will probably do another knife check next week, next Sunday. I will put a notice up on my posting board, whatever they call it, about what time, probably about 9 p.m. again, 2100 hours. So, have a pleasant evening, my friends. Remember, no matter where you go in life, there you are. And remember, that which does not kill you pisses you off. So, all the best, my friends. May the teachings of Ahura Mazda, Zarathustra, and the wise Lord Ahura Mazda bless you and keep you all safe in this turbulent. Good night.